Hello and welcome to Tech Clarified, where we talk all things technology. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Theo. If you have been here before, welcome again. Today we're going to be covering Windows 11, which is the latest offering from Microsoft. You'll probably already be aware that there's been a lot of hype prior to the release of this software, and you'll also probably be aware that there have been leaked versions of the software. I've managed to get a legitimate copy through the Windows Insider program, which you can join if you wish. Before we get started, there are a couple of things that I want to mention. Firstly, I'm using a virtual computer to test this software. That means there's going to be a few limitations in terms of what I can do. However, for most intents and purposes, we should be fine here today. If you don't know what virtual computing is all about, I would encourage you to check out some of the other videos that I've already done before. The second point I want to make is that I had a lot of trouble getting this software to work. I tried a few things and it didn't work, but I eventually got it to work. And because I do not want to detract from this particular video here, I'm not going to be covering the problems that I ran into on this particular video. Instead, I'll put out a separate video in which I detail the problems that I had and how I resolved them to get the software to work. That said, let's jump over to my computer and have our first look together. I hope you're just as excited as I am. We start out from my Windows 10 computer, from which I fire up Hyper-V. In order to do that, I click on Search and then type Hyper-V and enter. And once that comes up, we right-click and click on Connect, and then we enter my password. Once we are logged in, let's maximize the screen by clicking on View and Full Screen, and then let's get this out of the way. So there you have it. That's our first look of Windows 11. The first thing you notice straight away is that the Start menu is no longer in the bottom left-hand corner, but rather it's in the middle. If you prefer the Start menu to the left, you can always right-click on the taskbar, select Personalization, and go and change the settings. Let's hover our mouse on each of these icons on the taskbar and see what they do. This here is your Start icon, followed by the Search icon, which is pretty obvious. This one here I haven't seen before. It says Task View. If I click on it, I can see Desktop 1 and 2. Presumably that's going to be for multiple desktops. We'll come back to that one. This one is also new. It says Widgets. And then we've got Microsoft Edge and Explorer, of course. Let's click on Start and see what we've got. There we are. So that's the new Start menu. Let's click on Getting Started and let's see where that takes us to. Hi Theo, let's click on Get Started and we get a wizard to configure OneDrive. I'll click on this button here and then it obviously requires me to enter my credentials, but hang on, wait a minute. If I look over here in the bottom left hand corner, I can see this little icon here which suggests that I'm already logged in. Over here in the bottom right hand corner, I've got an icon for OneDrive, and sure enough, yes, you're all set. All files are in sync. So OneDrive has already been configured. We don't have to do anything. If I click on it again and then click on Open Folder, I can see that's my OneDrive for this particular account here, and it doesn't really have much in it. So that's our first look of Windows Explorer or Files Explorer. In Windows 11, we've got here to the left the familiar icons. If I right-click on this PC, which is the same as my computer, I can see these icons like the recycle bin, which is intuitive enough. Let's click on Show More Options to see what we've got. So this is more or less the equivalent of you right-clicking on my computer. So if I bring Windows Explorer from my Windows 10 computer onto this screen here, let's have a look. And if I click on Computer and then click on Manage, let's see what we get. And then we compare that to what we've just got in Windows 11. So it's pretty much the same thing. It opens Computer Management, which you are probably familiar with. Let's go back to my computer, Show More Options, and click Manage. And do exactly the same thing. You see that we get to the same place and it looks pretty much the same as on Windows 10. So just to have a bit of a comparison between the Windows Explorer for Windows 10 and Windows 11, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back again Files Explorer from Windows 10 and put it side by side with the one for Windows 11. This one here is for Windows 10. Move it over to the right, and this one here is for Windows 11. We move it over to the left and resize them a little bit. So there you are. That's the comparison between the two. You can definitely see that the icons on the left are more modern. Along the top, you have got what I believe is now called the command bar, and you can see that the icons there are currently grayed out, which is pretty standard behavior in Windows because we haven't got anything selected yet. If we need to enable these icons, we need to select something in here. And the icons themselves are intuitive. We should already be familiar with the cut, copy, and I guess this one will be paste, which would only be active if I'd copied something. This one here is not familiar to me. It's rename, and we can share, and the recycle bin, which is familiar. And then over here, we can customize the look of our display. Again, this is pretty standard. Nothing's changed over here. Let's close that. Let's go back to the start menu again and let's see what else we can have a look at. Let's click on tips and see what tips Windows 11 has got for us. Oh, we've got one tip. Let's learn all about it. Let's click on this one tip, which then gives us this link that takes us right through to the Microsoft website. We don't want to sync our profile for the time being, and let's close this over here. So over here you can obviously read up about all the new features that are going to be introduced when this product is fully released, and I presume that they're going to be updating this website as and when new features become available, but this is pretty much what you're going to get, and you can see there's a lot of emphasis on mobile devices. If I go back to the start menu and click it, I can see that I've got an all apps button. This allows me to toggle between all items on the start menu as well as go back to the pinned items. I don't really use pinned apps in Windows 10, but from the look of things, this looks slightly easier than I've seen before. If we click on the power icon, let's see what we have got. We've got disconnect because I am running this computer as a virtual machine. We also have the standard shutdown and restart. And then over to the left, this represents the account that I'm logged in with. And if I click on it, nothing new here. I can either log the computer, sign out, or check out some of the properties of my account. This is pretty much a case of rearranging what you already have on Windows 10. So let's just click around and see if there's anything of interest that pops up. Nothing too unusual so far. So let's close that for now and come back to it. If I just click on the Windows key and start typing something, that obviously activates the search facility, which already exists in Windows 10. Let's click on the widgets. We have got all this stuff. If it's of any interest to you, the current weather, depending on your location. If it's your thing, you've got that. You can also click on there and then you can tweak some of the settings. I'm beginning to get the hang of this. Seems like my Windows key is going to be working overtime. Okay, let me just type CMD for the command prompt. This is the usual suspect. I don't expect any surprises there. So we exit. If I right click on the desktop, context menu pops up, says Windows Terminal. Let's click on it and see what comes up. And sure enough, that's PowerShell for us. I've got this prompt here to install the latest version of PowerShell. And if I hover my mouse over this link here, you can actually see that the link is active, which is pretty snazzy because that means I can click through straight away to the short URL. And let's do that. And there it is, loading in the background. Before we switch over to the browser, let's just find out what version of PowerShell we have got here. So this is version 5, which is the version that was on Windows before I applied the upgrades. I guess PowerShell is not upgraded by default. So we have PowerShell version 7. I'll come back and install this another day. So let's close Microsoft Edge and keep going. Right click again on the desktop. This time new item. Let's see what we can do. Pretty standard stuff there. Let's go and click on personalize, and I see here we've got themes. So let's give these built-in themes a test drive. There we've got a dark theme. So you can see when I click down below here, everything assumes the new theme, and let's select a lighter one. And again, as expected, all the colors change to the light scheme. No prize for guessing that there'll be loads and loads of themes coming out. Let's go and restore the original theme. What else shall we have a look at? Let's click on privacy and security. There's a heck of a lot of settings over here. You can really go to town on these settings, but I'm not going to mess around with them today. While we're here, let's go to the Windows Update section. We can see that we already have an update here. It's for Windows 10. So let's go on ahead and install it. While we're waiting for the download of the update, let's just click on Windows Insider Program and just verify that we are configured. So all looks good here. You're on the latest build for your device. Excellent stuff. Out of interest, you can see there that my current selection here is for the dev channel, which are the highest changes. While the updates are still downloading, let's click on this link here for the latest build notes and see where that takes us. Right, that takes us through to the Microsoft website again, and it's pretty much more of the same stuff that we've already seen. You can read about all these tips and tricks, such as keyboard shortcuts and new things that you can do. We've already looked at widgets, multitasking, and some of these features here, I'm not going to be able to test them because of the fact that I am using a virtual computer. So 3-finger gestures and things like that. I won't waste too much time over here because obviously you can read that for yourself. Right, let's open trusty WordPad. This is just me testing stuff. Let's just have a quick look to see if my updates are done. Yes, they are, and we're now ready to restart the computer, but I won't do that just yet. Let's go back to the taskbar and click on Task View. As I said earlier on, I can see here that this allows me to see multiple desktops and switch between tasks. And this is the Powershell that I opened earlier on, and let's close that. What else have we got? We have got Skype already configured. I didn't have to do anything there because I've had to use a Microsoft account in order to be part of the Insider program. It has gone ahead and signed me in. If I click continue, it tries to test my microphone and other audio video equipment, but obviously because I'm on a virtual computer, I don't really need to do that. So let's try and get out of here. What else? We seem to have an alert here. Let's find out what that's about. Okay, let's turn on the virus protection. Always a good thing to do. And let's close this. Okay, let's try one more thing. Let's right click on the taskbar and see what we get. Taskbar settings. That brings up this menu, which is, we have been here before, but it just goes straight to the personalization tab. I don't want to change anything in there, so I'll close that. Just as an aside, I'm currently recording this screen here at 1080p resolution, so I imagine that on a higher resolution monitor, the graphics are going to look really good. My monitor actually supports 2560 by 1440 resolution, but I chose to record in 1080p because it seems to be the most popular YouTube format. We are finally ready to do a restart because we can see by the icon in the bottom right hand corner here that the computer is due for a reboot. Let's go for it. And let's click reconnect, and then we can see that it's finishing installing the updates. In a moment, we are back in Windows. We punch in our password and we're back in Windows. Well, there's not much else I want to have a look at today, so all that remains is for me to click here in the bottom left-hand corner, select sign out, and we are done. There you have it. That's Windows 11 for you. I'll be the first one to admit that this has been nothing more than just a tire-kicking exercise, just to have a first impressions look at Windows 11. From a first impressions point of view, the product, it looks really fresh and easy to use. If you have already been using Windows, you shouldn't have any trouble adjusting to the new version. I don't know about the start menu in the center of the taskbar, but hey, you know, it's like the British Marmite, either you like it or you don't. Personally, I don't really care because I use the Windows key to open up the menu, and I'm not really that bothered about being able to move the mouse to the bottom left-hand corner all the time. As I said, this has been just a first look. I'll still have to put this software through the paces from a technical point of view, doing benchmarking to try and get a sense and a feel of whether it's any better in terms of performance than the previous version, Windows 10. I'll also be using this computer to join it to a domain and seeing how it behaves under those conditions. I do want to highlight the fact that there are some limitations to the virtual computer that I used to test this software. There are things that I wasn't able to do. For instance, I wasn't able to assess how this software works with a touch-sensitive display. I was not able to test other things, such as, for instance, how this software interacts with pre-installed software, because this is a brand new computer. It doesn't have Microsoft Office or any of the other productivity pieces of software that you'll find on a computer. But that said, I still think Microsoft has done the right thing, and they've moved in the right direction, and they've done a lot of work under the circumstances during this pandemic season. So, thank you very much for joining this video. I do hope you have found value, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. If you did enjoy this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up, subscribing to this channel, because I'll be putting out a lot more content, particularly if you are in the IT profession. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye for now.